The AFC East is as competitive as it's ever really been, and now more than ever, the question of whether or not the Patriots can somehow even make the playoffs, let alone win the division, is really something that we should all be pondering about. I mean, as much as I hate that the AFC East is not a walk in the park anymore, it really is exciting to see teams like the Jets and the Dolphins, growing over the past couple of years into actual legitimate teams. Now, the Jets, they're still a team that I'd like to actually see succeed in person. But regardless, let's look at what this year's AFC East teams will look like, and if the Patriots are even good enough to beat them. Now, to start off, let's look at the division winners from last year, the Buffalo Bills. Now, looking at the Bills this offseason, they've just gotten better and better, haven't they? They said goodbye to some veterans in Cole Beasley and Jerry Hughes, two players that have contributed greatly on their respective sides of the field, but as a result, they just figured, okay, we need a piece that's just going to get us over the hump, and they casually went out and signed Von Miller to a 6-year, $120 million deal. They even went out and addressed their minor tight end weakness, if Dawson Knox is even considered one, and they got O.J. Howard. They even addressed their problem at running back and got Dalvin Cook's brother, James Cook, who is bound to be a monster, judging how good his brother is. To put it simply, the Bills are just a team that have no holes. They basically just have everything. And, the Bills front office is everything that I want the Patriots to be. Aggressive, but also smart and clever in the way that they spend their money. They know what they're doing, and they know what their weaknesses are, and they make sure they fill those weaknesses at fair prices. Last year, New England had a tight end problem and decided to go spend $90 million to fix it while letting their top cornerback leave the very next year. Look, the Bills whooped the Patriots' ass last year in Week 16, I believe, and they did so in the wild card as well. And it certainly looks like they're going to do the same this year, so I don't have high hopes for this team. And, they are definitely Super Bowl contenders going into this year. Now, moving on, we have the Miami Dolphins, another team that is scaring the living crap out of me. Miami's always been a team that spends big in the offseason, and then those pieces either become barely decent or just simply mediocre. And they made an even more baffling move to fire Brian Flores, who clearly wasn't the problem in South Beach. But the Dolphins, oh man, they have definitely improved this offseason. As the Dolphins relieved Brian Flores, they went out and got a supposed offensive genius in Mike McDaniel. He's a guy that's going to be key in the development of Tua Tagovailoa, who's going into a pivotal third season, having not developed as well as the fans or the organization has hoped he would. And in terms of helping him in the offseason, GM Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel did their part. Tua now has solid pass protection in Terron Armstead and Connor Williams. He also now has a solid running back group in Sony Michel and Raheem Mostert, as well as pre-existing running back Myles Gaskin. And let's also remember that Raheem Mostert was with Mike McDaniel in San Francisco, and also they ended up getting Chase Edmonds. But most surprising of all was the trade for Chiefs All-Pro wide receiver Tyreek Hill. And now when you look at the Patriots' schedule in Week 17 and Week 18, the Patriots 1 week have to play Tyreek Hill, and then the very next have to play Stephon Diggs. Those 2 weeks are just not going to be fun, let me tell you that. But yeah, moving on. In essence, the Dolphins improved tremendously on offense and then already own a very good defense that also got better in some ways. They did re-sign Emmanuel Ogbah, who had a very solid season last year. The Patriots always have had a tough time against the Dolphins, probably for more psychological reasons. When you look at the Patriots teams over the years that have lost to the Dolphins, the team has always been better. But, the Dolphins are just always able to get over the Patriots somehow. But this year, the Patriots have to face the wrath of Tyreek Hill and Mike McDaniel twice a year. Yeah, that's just not going to be fun. And so, if the Patriots can snatch one game, I'll tell you what, that would be pretty amazing. Now, the Jets are a team that genuinely scare me. Why? Well, because the Dolphins and Bills, they've been gradually growing over the years, and the development has been been casual to witness. You've seen the Patriots lose to the Dolphins many times, and over the past 2 years, the Bills have owned the Patriots practically, and even when Brady was here, we already knew that the Bills were kind of, getting up there with Josh Allen. But the Jets, Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh took a 2-14 Jets team that was trash and turned them in 2 years into potentially, and I'm using this word loosely, potentially a playoff contender. Now, the Jets love spending money every offseason, and they love wasting on useless talent, ahem, Le'Veon Bell. But this year, they played it smart. And, they didn't do anything remotely special throughout free agency or via trade, but what they did is just improve, in small ways, in small holes in the offense, and then improve solely through the draft. They used all 3 of their first-round picks on high-profile targets in Sauce Gardner, arguably one of the best corners in the draft, Garrett Wilson, who was arguably one of the best receivers in the draft, and Jermaine Johnson, a steal in the late first round. They got a solid running back in Breece Hall and a tight end in Jeremy Ruckert. And so from here, all the progress that the Jets have made is going to rest on the shoulders of Zach Wilson. If he improves, then the Jets will be a wildcard team next year and possibly could leave the Patriots staying at the basement of the AFC East. But if Zach Wilson regresses or doesn't develop, then the Jets will be an easy target for the Patriots next year, resulting in 2 easy wins once again. Now, I do expect the Jets to improve in some ways, and I don't expect the Patriots' matches against the Jets to be quite easy. But what I do know is that the Jets, developing this past offseason, just overall, as said in the beginning, makes the AFC East just get way more interesting. The Dolphins and Bills are teams that have tormented the Patriots over the last 2 to 3 years, and they just got way better this offseason as well. But then the Jets are a team that just surprisingly surged in the offseason and could potentially be a threat this year as well. And so let me quickly touch on the playoff possibilities for the Patriots this year, if there even are any, because I think we can all agree that the Bills are going to run away with the AFC East. I think, realistically speaking, that's just the most probable situation. But then the Dolphins, I don't know if the Patriots can handle the Dolphins this year. They are a team that is just way too powerful. It's going to definitely rest on Tua Tagovailoa, but even then, Tua is undefeated against Bill Belichick, so just keep that in mind. But then you also have to look at, some of the other teams in other divisions. The AFC West has 4 playoff contenders already. You've got the Colts in the AFC South. And then you've got the entirety of the AFC North, with maybe the exception of the Steelers. They're all going to be playoff contenders this year. And so, the Patriots are going to have to make some very impressive wins this year if they do want to, have a chance to make a playoff run. But anyhow, I'm not going to go that far into the season. I think we still have quite a ways to go before really anything is set in stone. But speaking specifically about the AFC East this year, if the Patriots have to be worried about the Jets of all teams, a team that, the Patriots have tormented over the last 10 years, then you already know it is going to be a long year for the Patriots. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the AFC East this year, whether or not the Patriots are going to be able to win the division or make the playoffs at least. Let me know in the comments down below, and if you have any thoughts that differ from mine. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace out.